Hey there, how's everyone doing? We're happy to see people from all over the world tuning in. If you're new here, welcome to the family. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Netanyahu had to finish his son's wedding in a bunker because of the Houthis, who just announced that they've deployed cluster missiles to the front lines. Sirens haven't stopped going off, and even the U.S. ambassador is reportedly yelling, saying, "Because of the Houthis, I'm heading to the shelters almost daily now." In response, Tel Aviv launched a full-scale attack on Yemeni ports. Meanwhile, Washington confirmed the success of its operation against Sana'a, and the U.S. ambassador floated a bizarre idea, establishing a Palestinian state outside of Palestine. The U.S. State Department quickly distanced itself from that, saying, "We have nothing to do with this guy." Over in the UK, Britain slapped sanctions on Israeli ministers Ben Gvir and Smotrich. The International Atomic Energy Agency is being accused of betraying Iran's trust, and Washington is now hinting at military action after Tehran stalled negotiations. Iran's delegation rejected any compromise. Former President Trump is preparing to move the Navy fleet toward Iran, and at the same time, he's claiming that California is being taken over by foreign forces. U.S. intelligence also revealed a plot to assassinate Ahmad Al-Shara, and Trump is backing off military expansion and cutting troop commitments. Meanwhile, Russia warned Poland against entering a military conflict. Some families of Israeli captives are calling this situation the Red Wedding, saying maybe now Netanyahu will get a taste of what he's made others go through. According to Israel's Channel 2, Netanyahu only gets worried when those closest to him are at risk. Channel 13 also reported heavy security reinforcements at the location of Netanyahu's son's wedding in case of a possible missile attack. Israel's Shin Bet, which is the internal security, has reportedly set up a fortified shelter on a farm near the wedding site, since there aren't any official shelters in that area. But that shelter is only for top VIPs and can't hold the 1,000 invited guests. There are serious concerns that militants could exploit the wedding's time and location to launch an attack. Then, unexpectedly, Tel Aviv launched airstrikes on the city of Hodeidah. According to Channel 2, the Israeli military targeted the port's docks in 2 strikes, but the aircraft didn't enter Yemeni airspace. The attack was carried out by warships. This was apparently in response to a new round of missile attacks from the Houthis on various parts of Israeli-held territory. In a previous statement, Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari said they hit Ben Gurion Airport with 2 hypersonic missiles as part of their campaign to enforce a no-fly zone. Reuters reported that senior Israeli sources confirmed that the Houthis introduced multi-warhead cluster missiles into the battlefield. Once the Houthi missile entered the atmosphere, it split into about 6 warheads, which overwhelmed Israel's defense systems. The Iron Dome fired off way more interceptors than usual, trying to take them down. That's why sirens were going off from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv and Ashkelon. Israeli sources said it wasn't just one missile, but a series of them launched from Yemen, further proving their new cluster missile capabilities. According to sources from Channel 2, the missile was unlike anything seen before, prompting a massive launch of interceptor missiles to deal with the fragments. Sky News shared photos of the cluster fragments. Houthi senior official Nazar al-Din Amer said Israel's latest attacks on Hodeidah had no real impact, as those locations had already been hit before. He also said the Yemeni naval blockade that shut down the port of Eilat won't be lifted. Same goes for the ban on Ben Gurion Airport. Meanwhile, Reuters reported that Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi has built up a powerful force in record time, one that's managed to threaten global powers with drones and ballistic missiles. At the same time, the U.S. Central Command said they've been bombing the Houthis continuously for 51 days and ensured freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. They added that protecting Tel Aviv's security is still Washington's responsibility, but the U.S. ambassador to Tel Aviv said, "Talking is easier than doing," adding that swinging the stick isn't the same as being hit by it. Mike Huckabee even admitted that he and the Mossad director are heading to the shelters almost every day now, according to Channel 2. In a related story, the Washington Post quoted Mahdi al-Mashat, head of the Supreme Political Council, saying the Houthis would respond in many directions. He warned countries with embassies near Israeli military targets in Tel Aviv to either move far away or close and evacuate for their own safety. On the other side, Ambassador Huckabee said the U.S. no longer fully supports the idea of an independent Palestinian state, and if one ever were created, it might not even be in the West Bank. State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce responded by saying the ambassador was only speaking for himself and not representing official U.S. policy. She added she wouldn't try to explain or clarify his statement. As America's position weakens, Britain is stepping up with a more balanced stance. According to the Times, London will impose sanctions, freeze assets, and ban travel for Israeli ministers Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. Meanwhile, Iran is clearly gearing up for war. As the fighting continues between Tel Aviv and Sana'a, Tehran is preparing for its role in the unfolding events. According to Fars News, Iranian security operations uncovered classified documents proving full coordination between the International Atomic Energy Agency and Israel. These documents reportedly include sensitive and confidential messages sent from Iran to the IAEA, which somehow ended up in Tel Aviv through secret channels. Iran's defense minister, General Aziz Nasserzadeh, called this intelligence operation a major victory, saying it shattered the myth of Mossad's invincibility and highlighted Iran's power, influence, and intelligence superiority, at least according to what Fars News quoted him saying. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reported a statement from the U.S. ambassador in Tel Aviv, claiming Trump made it clear that Iran should never be allowed to enrich uranium freely. Trump said he's running out of patience. He doesn't want bloodshed, but he insisted Iran will never get a nuclear weapon. If talks fail, the U.S. might resort to military action, and well, nothing is off the table. This warning was echoed by the head of U.S. Central Command, who confirmed they're fully prepared for a powerful military response if Trump gives the order. He added that the U.S. now has a strategic opportunity to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. All this comes after Trump told Fox News that Iran has recently taken a much tougher stance in nuclear talks and is now behaving very differently than just a few days ago. A new meeting with Iranian officials is planned to address these changes. Fox News also quoted U.S. officials saying Iran seems to be stalling negotiations without making any real progress. Back in Tehran, government spokeswoman Fatemeh Mohajerani said one of the key problems in the negotiations is the inconsistency in the American position. She stressed that Iran is ready for all possible scenarios. Meanwhile, Trump isn't just focused on Iran. At a military base speech, he said Los Angeles is under foreign occupation. Speaking to troops at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, Trump vowed not to allow any American city to be taken over by foreign enemies, referring to the recent protests sparked by immigration raids. He described the situation in California as a full-scale attack on peace, public order, and national sovereignty, carried out by agitators waving foreign flags, aiming to support a continued foreign invasion. From the chaos in the so-called leader of the free world to the tense situation in Damascus, the Monitor reported growing U.S. concerns over a possible assassination attempt against Syrian President Ahmad Al-Shara. The Biden administration is increasingly worried that armed rebels, especially splinter groups involved in overthrowing the previous regime, might try to take him out. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, after briefly celebrating successful strikes on Russian targets, Kiev finds itself alone again. The U.S. Defense Secretary announced that Washington will cut weapons funding for Ukraine in the 2026 budget. At the same time, Russia is warning about hostile behavior from Poland. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow is closely watching Poland's increasingly aggressive stance and suggested waiting to see how Poland's new political direction plays out. On another front, Russia announced, along with the U.S., plans to move their negotiations from Istanbul to their respective capitals. Russian ambassador to Washington, Alexander Darchiev, confirmed that both countries have agreed in principle to hold the next round of talks in Moscow